Okay, we'll see a simple example on jQuery Mobile. First point, jQuery Mobile, we are going to use it for mobile devices. You need to imagine yourself you are going to use a touchscreen based mobile phones. So when we do an UI for the mobile phones, maybe you are not going to have any hyperlinks hereafter, because hyperlinks in our understanding it's a HTML link we are clicking using a mouse button, but instead here going to be everything a button based navigation, because the user has to touch it, he should feel as if it is something getting pressed, then he is going to see the next page, or maybe dialogue or anything is going to come. So usually UI is little organized in such a way it is fit for a mobile phone. And also the navigation what we are going to keep, we may not be having much kind of complex design here, because it's all vertical design, like header, footer, content in the mid. In the previous case we had a kind of a complex UI which had a left, right, center or whatever options, but we are not going to keep it anyway. So we are not going to worry much about the desktop look and feel, because jQuery mobile is exclusive for a mobile. So simple project can be created, new project. I'm going to say JQ, sorry, HTML5. Any name you can give, just hit finish. So you downloaded the whatever JavaScript files. I think I kept it. So this is the jQuery, JavaScript file I gave. You can simply copy and paste it over here. So in this also we are not going to need all the files. In fact, you can remove the source code versions. So jQuery.js nothing but the same jQuery we used in the previous exercises. This is a source code version where I can read the source code. In fact, I'm not going to need the source code version, I'm going to need a minified version only, because I'm not going to modify any libraries. So if you do not uh, wish to keep them, you can simply remove jQuery.js and jQuery mobile.js. Probably what we need the minified version of the both. So source code version, if you do not want, you can safely delete them. You're not going to need it. If you want to keep it, just leave it as it is. So we are going to need these two files, jQuery minified and jQuery mobile 1.4.5, which is another one is a kind of executable version. Just keep it. Well, I'll let you know why we have it. But anyway, we are not going to explicitly use them. So we are going to use these two JavaScript files, and the CSS which I gave last. I'm going to keep that in this folder called CSS, so we keep it a little organized, like what kind of files we are going to keep. I think I downloaded here. I kept. This one I gave. So we have three additional files. The fourth one I'm not going to consider that. So the CSS file I kept it in the CSS folder, and minified JavaScript versions. And one is jQuery minified, another one jQuery mobile minified. So this jQuery minified is nothing but the same jQuery which we used in the previous exercises, like 2.13 or 1.1, whatever it is. So you can, instead of that, you can use this one also. You can copy this jQuery, otherwise you can keep the, because I already put the version inside. So whatever you prefer, but because it is very clearly tells that the jQuery mobile is nothing but the subset of jQuery. So jQuery is a parent library. By extending some feature, jQuery mobile has been written. So to make the jQuery mobile working, we need the base library jQuery. So these are all the files we actually need. So I'm going into the file. the index file which is automatically created here. So to start with, we probably go ahead and add them at the header. Later we will see where we can keep it, where we can move it. I would recommend adding the jQuery as a first one, but there is no specific significance. But only condition is if you are adding the JavaScript, make sure the first one is jQuery, the parent library. And then you may probably add the CSS. Only condition, this jQuery minified should take a preference than the jQuery mobile, but order could be different. So minified one, this is a CSS, so I'm need going to give a style sheet. The other one, so these are all the 3 additional files we are going to need, which will make sure our HTML page is converted to a jQuery mobile specific page. As I said, this could be anywhere. In fact, I can keep in this way also. Only condition, as I said, the mobile should come after the parent library added, because this mobile jQuery mobile has a dependency over this file, so this has to take the precedence. The CSS order could be different, so any order, so make sure you add this way. jQuery mobile does not use any semantic tags or anything. It's primarily a box-based or block-based design, div, and it uses pseudo tags, pseudo tag attribute definition. Pseudo mean such a tag doesn't exist in HTML5 draft. It is added through a CSS and JavaScript. That is called data role. You won't get a suggestion. Your NetBeans even does not know, because such a tag never exists. But the JavaScript can read such an attribute definition and accordingly can modify it. So the jQuery mobile page always start with the div tag having a data role specified page. This is the first point to make a particular content a jQuery specific. So a div tag, remember inside the body a div tag starts. So what I'm going to create a single page or single view. So it always starts with a div tag and having a data role called page. If you need ID, if you are going to keep multiple pages, you can define ID, but still optional. If required, we can give a ID like page 1, something like that, or view 1. But if required, we can keep ID, because IDs are identities for a particular DOM. Unless we need a JavaScript to modify it, we may need the ID. Otherwise, we don't need to write it. But if required, we'll see as our code grows, or if we may need to add an ID, we will do it. But the main requirement is to have a div data role page. Is there any difference it has done? If you want to check. I don't see much change so far, because no content, but the content is slightly grayed out. I can show the difference as well. We don't see the difference. We'll see as we add the content. Okay, so a typical jQuery mobile standard is design is an header, content, footer. So header mean top navigation, or where you will have a title of your app, maybe some additional navigation if required, maybe a back button, or maybe your settings or additional menu button. So header, and below to that the content area, and finally a footer. So that's a design we typically use in jQuery mobile, but of course you can skip it if you don't want, but I want to go with default design. So that also start with div tag. I was talking about 3 div I need, because for header, content, and the footer. So the data role going to be header. The last one, data row. Remember, you won't get any suggestion. Please carefully type. Uh, Maybe typos or anything may come, so please carefully do it. Footer and another data row, which could be kept as main because the content, main content where it is going to come. So header, I would like to keep a h1 because I want to slightly bold it. Say my app, some name. In the footer, you can keep a copyright. That also I'll keep it in h1. Something. On main, probably I may write it. Uh, for exclusive for main, I would recommend keeping a class attribute also, which will add the sufficient padding or margins. In the previous example, I was telling about not the content should touch the border of your DOM, which we did not feel doesn't give a professional look and feel. You may have noticed most of the content I added a padding to give a small white space or maybe a margin, something like that. So such a margin could be added for a main content if you add the class definition UI content. So that's it. You're almost done with your jQuery mobile model page. First thing you need to understand, jQuery mobile definitions, the DOM definition always start with the pseudo tag called data role and start with the data role page so that the page would be displayed. Of course, if you define outside the page, the content won't be displayed at all. So the data role page as a parent DOM. Within that, I'm separating the content into three areas. Of course, all having a data role attribute value specified. One being header, and middle being a main, and the third being the footer. For main alone, I added one class attribute definition saying that it's nothing but some sort of CSS thing which is there inside the minified file, which will add a padding and required margin adjustment. If you don't keep it also, it will still work, so there's no problem. But I would recommend this to keep because this is a simple skeleton of your jQuery mobile page. We have to see how this looks like. May not be looking properly, but we are almost closer. Uh, First thing, the content, there is no content, that's why that file immediately, the footer immediately has come. The header automatically put a kind of a bar and footer as well. And if you see in the mobile way, I would recommend keeping your browser window smaller so that you will get a look and feel of a mobile phone. So header, footer and content space being defined. So we'll have to do a couple of adjustments to make it look better. Another pseudo tag called data position set to fix it. This will tell the jQuery mobile that header mean there is a header attribute, data position is always set to top position. So it will fit to a header fixed and footer fixed to a bottom. So it is telling that the data position keep it fixed. You can keep other definition as well, but may not be for this data role header. Data position left, right also could be kept. So let me see if any changes happen. So now it looks pretty good because the header has kept on the top and the footer has come to a bottom. In between the content is space for the content. Even though there is no space, there is no content, of course the space is reserved for the main to appear. So header, footer having data position pseudo tag and attribute defined as a fixed. In fact, I have in my website, I've already put various definitions and data roles needed for creating a jQuery mobile website, which is there in some other maybe exercise somewhere. jQuery mobile additional data role. attribute reference, the 31st exercise, where I define what all the data role positions are available. So I've already put a kind of a list over there, but you don't need to refer to start with. As of now, just start with the basic thing, and when we add various project, we'll get to know what all the part we can put in use. But anyway, all the references being added here in the content as well. I'll probably reiterate one more time if required, but as of now, you don't need to refer that. So first we have seen the pseudo tag or data role defined for all the DOMs in jQuery mobile set. The starting one being a root node being a page, and whatever you write inside the page is only getting displayed. Anything you write outside of this DOM, for example, may not be treated as a jQuery mobile formatted on. In fact, it doesn't even display here. It won't work. This is how jQuery mobile treat the content. So in order to have a page to be displayed with the content, make sure the root tag immediately after body is set to a data role page, and inside whatever you write is going to be displayed. But to organize the content, I split the content into three: header, footer, and of course the middle one being main, all defined using the pseudo tag called data hyphen role. So data role set to header, and data role set to footer, and the middle one set to main. In order to keep the header always on the top, to fix always on the top, I am keeping the data position set to fixed. In order to keep the footer always at the bottom, of course I am telling the data position to be fixed at the bottom. The fix is relevant to the data role. So based on the data role, the position would be fixed. So the data role set to footer, as per the CSS, it may have an understanding like it is going to be at the bottom. So naturally, it is kept to the bottom. In fact, I don't need to specify the main, but I would recommend keeping the class UI content to add the sufficient like a margin or maybe white space. As far as jQuery mobile, in fact, I can simply start writing the content. We notice there is a margin has been given. The content doesn't touch the edges. So this is because of the class definition what I have given here. So I'm just going to remove it. It's just touching it. So to keep the relevant padding or whatever it is, I'm just giving the job to so I'm defining for our data role main alone with the class attribute defined as a UI content. We will see what are all the other options also available. In fact, the one single page I published which contains all the information about your jQuery mobile, if you are very familiar with that, you are almost done with the jQuery mobile. In fact, being a professional on one particular programming is not to do with your familiarity or maybe memorize the coding pattern at all. It is the ability to read the document and understand. So if any programming task being given, your ability is understood in such a way how far you can understand the document, how you will read the document so that you understand it. So this is how your professionalism is going to be. It's not something you memorize the entire thing and understand and then you write it. It's not. As far as the programming, as far as what you are going to do in future, if any new task or new programming language comes, the ultimate requirement is you understand the concept behind it, so that apply the concept while you read the document and infer from it and you write it. So this is how you are going to work on the real scenario. It's not something you memorize everything and understand. In fact, before I write it, in fact I don't remember them, so simply see the document and prepare an exercise and give it to you. So this is what I'm also doing. So and of course you are going to do the same. So the basic skeleton of your jQuery mobile, as I said, you start with the data role attribute definitions. So as you give a data role specification stating the page, the any DOMs or any content specified within that is getting displayed, and of course in the content area, so where you see the page. Data role specification set to header footer will keep the content centered. Remember, it automatically put into center. I haven't add any CSS definitions to make it center. It automatically put them into center. If we do not use a jQuery mobile, we would end up writing a CSS and writing all the stuff required. But in this case, it has already put and footer and main. As far as mobile design concerned, header primarily identified to keep the uh, title of your app, maybe additional navigation. Footer sometime to display the copyright information. If not, there won't be a footer at all. So this is a normal design pattern we use in mobile page design, or maybe while we create a UI. So header I always use for putting a logo, or maybe an app name, or maybe some settings icon, so that by clicking it I will be taken to a settings screen, or maybe next page or something. Some buttons I may keep for a navigation, and this particular content for my application or any content whatever I'm going to display here. As far as jQuery, any hyperlink is considered as a button. We have already seen such a hyperlink, we know that. So a link, simply put a link. I haven't add anything href because I may add some other link. So, but how it looks like we have to see. So a link. But as far as jQuery mobile, we have to understand the user is not going to see the HTML content. He is going to see some typically what a mobile site. So mobile site, if you notice, most of the mobile phone you buy, the navigation happens through a button. So in this case, put a simple class. My button, yeah. When I give a database attribute definition as a UI button, it automatically create a kind of a button look and feel, even though it is a href. I just put hash because I may be adding some link later. When you give a class attribute with a value called UI button, BTN, it converted the hyperlink into a button. So wherever a link is going to come, I'm going to use this particular CSS attribute, class attribute in this case, UI button, if required. So clicking the button, I'm going to take the user to another screen. I'm not going to use any hyperlink anymore. I won't use, I mean hyperlink in the sense, the previous example with the text with the underline something, it won't be there here. So if at all the hyperlink comes, I will be having class define maybe UI button set. So this is what I'm going to use. So you have to use in the same way. So this is maybe I'll keep it for your reference. While understanding jQuery mobile, we also need to understand jQuery mobile, how it handles the page navigation. In fact, we already know that by through some other example. Page navigation, in a way, what I'm trying to say, by clicking this button, I want to show the another page. I want to take the user to second screen or somewhere. So how I am going to handle it? So how things work in this case? So let's see. jQuery can handle in two ways. One is through a separate HTML file. Another one is inline HTML DOM. I'll show you the two ways. Remember this data role page, what you have written here. After this tag, I'm starting another page. In this understanding, what we try to say, like, this is the page 1 and this is another page, maybe page 2. Because the page 2 won't be displayed unless you manually invoke or call the link. If you want to display it, yes, now you have two page attributes, so you need to have an ID to distinguish between what page you are displaying. So I'm going to say page 2. Maybe this I can keep it as a page 1 or home. That would be more appropriate. Okay, let me keep page 1 because to keep the order. So this is the second page for me. I'm going to keep the same stuff, three div tags, one being defined data role. Okay. So let me put another href. Okay, I don't want to put any href here. Just this is page 2. Header will keep something same one like I'm writing it intentionally because first part I need to get used to it. Instead of copy pasting as much as possible, I'm trying to write as much as possible. And if you do not define the footer or header with empty values, or if you keep it, sometime the bar doesn't appear. So I just need to have some sort of pseudo content to say the page is getting having those values defined. Copyright I may keep the same. So this is inline page. It mean in the same single HTML file, jQuery is going to treat this as a two different pages because there is a data role attribute value having page defined twice because two page exists. So jQuery manually understand okay there's going to be two pages. By default the topmost data role page would be displayed and the second page won't be displayed unless we call it. So first we have to verify if anything goes wrong here. Okay, it doesn't go. So we already have a button. Clicking this button, I want to display the second page. Maybe now it is an inline page, and ID of a page is defined too. So the hash we typically use for ID. So I can define page 2. So href will search for an ID called page 2 and load this page. If everything goes well, should work. Because it worked. When I click on that page, jQuery loaded the second page. In fact, it is the same content though, but it loaded the second page. Otherwise, the second DOM set, which is having data role attribute defined as a page. And in fact, if you notice, the previous one disappeared, and of course, the second one you see. So two different, as many as blocks you can keep in the single page to handle the page navigation here. So the page 1, page 2. Second, I would like to slightly extend the header because whenever you give a page navigation, you should also give the user to go back to the previous page. If I have a back button, it would be nice here because the user has loaded the second page. What if the user want to come back to the previous page? So that I'm going to give us a button. Anything you define an href tag in header or footer, typically it is by default treated as a button. Say I've just written a back button. Let's see if you notice it automatically put a button over here. I don't need to define the separate class attribute UI, sorry, in this case where is that UI button or something. Because when you put a normal href in a header or footer, typically it is treated as a button. And also you notice a href I define just above the h1 tag, but it has kept in the extreme left. So if I keep another button, it'll keep it in the extreme right. So it automatically organize your content, giving the, because as I said, usually a normal design pattern for a mobile phone, typically header is used for a page navigation. So that's a simple understanding of how a typical mobile design could be made. So any button or any link you specify in the header, jQuery mobile automatically put it, okay, first content keep it in the extreme left, the second content put it in the extreme right, and of course the space given for mobile, I mean the title. But if you still want to modify it, yes, you have an option to do that. Um, Maybe I don't want to add a multiple feature, but in fact you have to this time depend on UIBTN. So this is already showing in right, I want to keep it in the left. So if I specify the locations, left or right, this particular time it will interchange. So the buttons are appearing in the opposite side. But if you want, but you don't need to do it because the space is quite limited. You can keep the hierarchy. If you really want this button appear here, you can keep it. You can write the code in the after the heading. So, but if you want, you can do it. So just I displayed it. Maybe I don't need the back additional button. With single button also would do. Okay, by clicking this back button, I want to take the user back to the previous page. That could be done using additional pseudo tag or data rel set to back. So in this case, if I click the back button, automatically the previous page loaded. So all you need to specify data rel set to back, and the content will go back to the previous DOM. It just follows the history. If you have a third DOM also defined, the back will take one step below. So just follow the history. So if you specify data rel back, automatically go back. So we have made a simple mobile app. So clicking the link takes me to the additional second screen and displays, and taking me to the back screen. So simple jQuery mobile page is ready for us. Okay, probably we can do some more additions as well here. I have one more attribute, pseudo attribute called data icon. I have various icon, list of icon. Probably I can show you. But okay, let me see. The icon name itself back. It's a predefined icon, a canvas system, which is SVG option, because remember HTML5 has option to draw directly on the canvas. I mean the HTML DOM itself. You can create animations, you can create graphical images, everything. Of course, we have some example as well. So data icon will add small icon near to the button, which will be more interesting to see. In fact, we see a kind of a back look button. We have various button data icons. So let me see. Show you. I'll highlight. Yeah. So these are all home, delete, plus, arrow U, arrow D, check, gear, grid. These are all the icon. So predefined icons. But in this, I have just used the back one. Forward, back, alert. There are a couple of things. If you want, you can put a different data icon value. What are all the different icon is displaying. So the back will display along with this. So it will be even nicer to see. Clicking back takes me to the previous page. A simple jQuery mobile app. Okay. We'll also do some more changes in the first screen. I'll add one more button. I'm adding to first page. As far as jQuery mobile, first page means a DOM data role defined as a page. We just define whatever it is, according to me is a page. So in this case, first page, why I'm referring it, because this is the first DOM. having the data role attribute specified as a page. Um, let me, I'm going to say settings, something. Data icon grid. Grid mean the hamburger menu look and feel. We'll see how it looks like. A kind of, oh, it's not grid. I think it's bar. Bars. Setting won't be met. I'll say menu, because usually we keep this hamburger kind of icon for additional menus in mobile design. Mean something hidden, by clicking it that part appears and the additional menu option would be there, and then the user usually, if you notice, maybe if you have a Gmail app or whatever app you, if you have in Android, you'll see once you click on the top, the hamburger menu start, something pops up from the left or right, the slide menu or something like that. So similar thing I'm trying to create here. And one more attribute, data icon POS set to no text. If we keep this one, the text will disappear, only the icon alone will appear. So sometimes you want to simply put the icon, you don't want to display the text, you can have the data data icon portion. So this will make sure the text is not displayed if you want. Sometime we may need it, sometime we won't prefer it. So I'll keep this. Maybe I'll add one more button for settings, because I want to show how the settings button looks like. So data icon set to gear. Usually settings button displayed with a kind of a gear looks like, because this is how the settings icon we often refer. So by clicking settings, the user will be shown to a setting screen, maybe some sort of login information or something he can change, or maybe additional thing he can see. So a couple of buttons I can keep on the header. So the buttons, of course, are defined in what they call header. Any href by default is taken as a button, and I can define an icon for a href. In this case, along with the text, the icon will be displayed. We have various icons stating from gear, bars, maybe grid. There are various icons are there. So if you want, you can keep the relevant icons. Data icon portion, and if you keep it no text, it will remove the icon text and only keep the particular icon alone instead of text. And of course, these are all the additional options are there. So href, let us put some other options. Remember, I'm going to create a sub page, a kind of hidden menu I want to display. So I'm putting that after the footer. It is called panel. I may need ID. Some name, panel menu, whatever name. ID could be anything. Data position, I want to keep it fixed. I'll keep on writing something. I want to see whether it is displaying or not. Nothing is displaying. And I'm going to give a link. Means it is going to search for a ID called panel menu. Of course, it is defined as a data role panel. What kind of a design it is? Let's see. Maybe notice slides. The content is hidden. As I click on it, the panel appears as a slide menu. If you notice, in a typical, you may have seen this similar menu system in mobile phones or many apps if you see. So within this particular page, there is one panel exists which is hidden now, and the panel could be displayed. Of course, because only one page is displayed at the time, so the panel menu or the panel page is not displaying. So as I point the href to that particular panel, it appears as a slide. So it simply slides. Additional menus could be kept here. Any design look and feel, in fact, uh, anything you want to keep. We'll expand this particular part a little later, but anyway, just want to show you panel menu be kept in this way. So it appears. Additional list or anything, we'll keep it. And jQuery also have a couple of built-in themes. Data hyphen theme could be accessed. Themes are having values starting from A to Z. For example, theme B, if I keep it, there are default themes are there. Every theme will have a color systems. So I've used a panel with a data theme using B, because A to Z you can specify the values. Any changes happens, it's black. So slightly give a contrast look and feel the additional menu with a different theme. It will be nice to see. But we have a limitation over here. Not all themes I've loaded, because themes have been defined as external file. We have to separately download them. But as of now, additional theme A and B alone has been given. Default theme is A, already been used. The additional different theme is called B. If you notice the content or maybe the tutorials what I uploaded here, data. So data themes match letter A to Z. So any specific theme you can, of course, additionally you can download and specify with the A to Z, Z values, built-in values, which is out there, which or whatever it is there. But in this case, I've used the data theme B for a panel or no, because to give a contrast look as the user click on the panel, the additional content appears over here. Maybe we'll add some more values as well there. Because panel itself had an additional page which is simply hidden. For doing any change, I want to see if any changes happen. Nothing, because to add a sufficient padding, otherwise things will touch at the borders. List, unordered list, I want to keep. Maybe just having a data role list view, I hope. Let me see. Let me add a couple of list items, then see how it looks like. Some additional mail system, or maybe feedback, just some additional menus which appears after you click it. You notice kind of the UI unordered list itself having a theme. It looks like a list, and of course there's some sort of specific design is got added for you, and of course it looks like a list view. and I can click them, take the user to additional pages. As of now, we haven't added anything, but so it's all dead links, but additional menus could be kept in this way. So as user click on it, he can see the additional menus and can be taken to the specific pages. So as far as the panel concerned, panel is also a kind of a page, but as the jQuery mobile does not display the additional page elements, so it is also defined as an inner page of a single page called page 1. So I can display this DOM by manually calling the href. In this case, the href is having the ID panel menu. So jQuery mobile search for a ID called panel menu, and that it loads as a hidden menu or something. As you click on it, it appears. And it is possible because the data role defined as a panel and data position defined as fixed. So the panel always stays in the background and of course being displayed in this way. So by doing simple, using the simple attribute called data role, we could create a kind of a composite look and feel exclusive for a mobile phone. And this is possible because of jQuery Mobile. So jQuery Mobile has a simple kind of rules to create the pages, and having a data role value defined as a page, jQuery Mobile treat the any blocks which is defined in that as a single page, and having subsequent data role value defined as a header, footer or main, and jQuery Mobile automatically aligns them to the top and bottom and middle respectively. And additional what you call the UI content or button for a href will eventually make them as a buttons, and additional pages or next subsequent pages could be loaded by having additional data role value specified as a page having a different ID. Calling the ID through href prefixing hash will automatically load the particular other pages which is having a data role called page. So this is one scenario. Scenario 1 being pages defined in the single HTML file itself or single HTML file itself, but having a different IDs. So every href in jQuery Mobile in this case having a prefix hash. But as your application grows, you cannot keep every different, if you assume if your application contains 25 pages or 25 different pages, you can't write everything within the single file. You may lose the focus where which one you are modifying. So some people would want to prefer keep everything separated instead of having in a single page. That is also possible in jQuery Mobile. So maybe I have a additional, maybe the settings, I'll create another page designed for settings, which I will define as a separate um, page. So in this case, I'm going to create another HTML. I'm going to name it as settings. So it's a different file. I'm not going to need all those things. Only the DOM which is needed for the HTML, because reason one is jQuery Mobile automatically load the page to the first page placeholders. I'll show you how. So first I'm going to do the same. I've removed all the HTML and all the other body or other stuff, so which is actually not needed. I'm going to need 3 divs set header footer for the respective need. So we may need a back button as well. So the back button is based on the data rel, so I just keep the hash mean empty page or empty link, so something to denote it. Or if you you can keep it blank as well. Save back. So I need to define data. Okay, whatever. So it's remember, this is a external file which is defined in the file name called settings.html. Of course, one more thing I terribly forgot. Need to make it as need to wrap everything. Page. You want to have an ID if you want. So settings. I want to have a something different because not to be confused with the file name and the DOM name. So it is a external file instead of the previous one, which the additional data role attribute was defined within the single file itself. But in this case, it is an external file. So how to load this file? There's a settings button. I can simply give a link .html. That's it. So in this case, I click on the settings button. It loads the external page as well. Only difference, it doesn't have a prefix called hash because it is an external file, and we just give the path of the particular file. So directly it loads the second page. Of course, I can go back and see the previous page. So if you want to keep the code a little organized, you can create a separate pages or separate HTML files, and then you can keep them over there. And for additional pages, you don't need to have any additional body or a href title or additional. Again, you call the CSS, because I was telling uh, in the previous exercise, jQuery, if you use the page load, you don't need to have don't need to define the CSS or any JavaScript attribute again and again to the additional pages. So it means jQuery mobile uses DOM.load methodology, like which we used in the previous exercise. So it only loads the specific content. So it doesn't require the additional specification which we already defined in the very first page itself. If it is a separate file, naturally I would end up defining every other definitions, like adding the CSS, adding the jQuery mobile, adding jQuery minified or whatever it is. So jQuery handles the page transition using jQuery DOM load technique. So the additional file does not have a extra attribute or maybe the file linking issues at all. All you need to have the div tag having a data role as a parent tag, and of course the child tag follows in this way. So everything is data role here based on additional attributes like data rel or data icon, or maybe class attribute defined UI content or anything. Maybe it depends wherever required, but everything is in this case defined as a data role. So an additional page can be an external file as well as an internal DOM. But if you have an internal DOM as defined as a page, make sure you prefix the hash so that jQuery will search for the hash and load as a page. And we also saw a panel. We use a different theme, and the panel appears as you click on a link, and the panel appears through a slide. Of course, panel position can also be changed to left or right. Let me do that as well. So the panel, I think data. Not sure. Let me see if that works. It works. So the panel position I set to right. So data position I set to right. So the panel appears in the right direction. So default is left, but for the left I prefer left. So I keep it left. If you do not specify, of course default is left. So let it be the left itself. So in a typical jQuery mobile technique, as we said, I need to add three external files. One is one CSS and two JavaScript files. One being jQuery itself, additional one is jQuery mobile one. And the CSS or the minified CSS which we added contains only two themes, theme A and theme B. Additional themes needed, of course we can download it. There are options are there, but to make it simpler I just concluded with the three simple files, because if you see the reference in the actual jQuery mobile site, they have a bunch of demos added which will confuse you. So to start with I made it slightly simpler. So only three different files you need to add it on the top, and of course data role attribute takes you and treat DOMs as a pages. So this is a simple skeleton of your jQuery mobile page, and of course this is what you're going to do in your afternoon practice session, like, because we have a number of things, we're going to extend it a little further. First one, as of now I haven't used even a single line of JavaScript code, custom JavaScript code. I haven't even write anything because I handle everything through the link and directly handle. Now if we add a content, I may have to take the content from one DOM to another DOM. So in that case, how I'm going to take it, or sometime instead of clicking the button, I want to do some other action, and after that only the page transition should happen. So I may end up in a different scenarios as I extend the code. Uh, of course, I'm going to write a small app which is called shopping list, so which is going to maintain my shopping list items, uh, and of course it is password protected. So I can add a shopping item and define a quantity and click save. Shopping items getting saved in my app. So anytime I log out, of course my application logs out, and if I open it I need to type the username and password and see the shopping list. Either I can modify, delete or edit, whatever I can do it. So that example I'm going to do for our hands-on, maybe the further classes. But as of today, get used to your data role attributes and don't try to do much practice here, because some tags will work with some DOM or something won't work. So I would recommend you first get used to the simple example what I've written. So first define the data role attribute page, header, footer, make a habit. If I say, hey, create a jQuery mobile page, mean you should have a simple skeleton written for you. And from there you can modify it. So get used to a data position attributes and get used to data icon, data position and data role, and of course panel and whatever thing I defined here. So get used to it. Maybe I'll give you entire afternoon to get you yourself comfortable with this. And if you have any further or maybe the pending exercise, make sure you finish it within today, because the next subsequent exercises we are going to see exclusive on jQuery mobile only. Probably I may come back a little later on the conventional page design what we saw in the last 10 days. But hereafter it's going to be much more JavaScript. More JavaScript, of course, everything on the jQuery mobile. Okay.